Excellent. Thank you guys so much. I'm really excited to be up here and share. Probably see people trickling in, so I'll just keep it rolling. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you today about beyond closed won and really how you can unlock revenue and expansion through engagement, and talk to you about some of the tactical things we did over the last 5 years to do that. As Dave mentioned, I'm the co-CEO and co-founder of Sendoso. Started the company nearly 10 years ago. Before that, spent over a decade in software sales myself, so I've been in the GTM space for quite a while. For those of you who don't know about Sendoso, we're the #1 gifting and direct mail platform. Kind of comprises of 4 key areas. We have our warehousing and logistics, we have our marketplace, we have our SaaS platform, and then our biggest focus lately is our AI and recommendation engine. And this is filled with a ton of data over a decade of sending and delivering direct mail and gifting. And for context for this presentation, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about our kind of 3-tier business model. So we are sales-led. We have an inbound and outbound sales team that is trying to drive demo requests, book meetings, closed won, and drive spend. We also have a product-led motion too, where we try to attract individual contributors like sales reps to our funnel to get sending, as well as recipients, as we have an interesting flywheel where recipients receive a gift and they're like, ooh, I should be sending gifts out. And so we try to drive people into our funnel that way and spending. And then we also have this marketplace effect too, because we have to get people to come into the platform, match with something that they actually want to gift and send out, and then we have to send that out and get them to spend on it. So kind of 3 parts to our business. But let's get into the presentation. So first, to just give you some background, in the early years, we over-indexed on ARR. The teeter-totter was all the way into ARR, and we were focused on ARR much, much more than NRR for many years. And our focus was, again, on trying to target the right accounts, trying to attract them, trying to engage with them, get them to convert. And we almost did no expansion in the early years. And our biggest North Star was new logos. We were obsessed with new logos. We had a Slack channel that anytime a new logo came in, it was, let's celebrate the whole world. This is the best thing ever. And it was great for us in the early years. But about 5 years in, we had this epiphany at a board meeting that if we need to get to hundreds of millions in revenue, we need to think about NRR more. And this is something that should have been obvious to us, but in reality, a lot of other CEOs, a lot of other founders are in this ARR mindset for almost too long. And I did a quick search just to see if this was popular in the media. So if you look on TechCrunch, there's about 1,250 search results for ARR. There's 21 for NRR. So the media oversaturates ARR, ARR, ARR. But people forget how important NRR is and how important expansion revenue is to get that flywheel running and to drive hundreds of millions in revenue. So my big learning was, how the heck do we do better with NRR? And what are some of the things that we can do to refocus the business, refocus the company around this NRR North Star? And so now, about 9 years later, expansion is something that we talk about way more. We still do the obvious ARR metrics, but if you look at our board decks, you talk to our exec team, everyone now knows NRR numbers versus 5, 8 years ago. No one would even been talking about NRR to that fashion. And now our Slack groups and our win channels are all full of expansion logos. And we celebrate our account management teams as the heroes and their customer success teams are the heroes. And our product upsells as the heroes versus what years ago would have been lost by the wayside. So I want to tell you the strategy that we used that worked well for us, and hopefully there's a few takeaways that can be used for your guys' businesses. So the first thing we did was we invested in our customer community programs and in events. We also invested in customer education and university and trainings and certifications. We invested in customer rules of engagement. There was a lot of messiness that was happening, and so we had to reinvest and think about our ROEs. And we invested in our customer SLAs and how we wanted to support our customers and how we wanted to look at CSAT initiatives. And then investing in more tools and software. And last but not least is our customer communications. This was something that was fallen by the wayside in terms of engagement in the early years. There was a lot of one-to-one outreach, and so we really needed to figure out how we refocused on customer comms. And so these 3 things are the things that I want to talk to you today that made the biggest impact on our business. They all helped, but I wanted to get into the details on these 3 things. So the first thing we did for our customer community is we launched a super sender program. Sounds pretty cool, I know. And this was something that we did where we invited in our top customers and power users, and we celebrated them. We gave them awards. We let them speak at events with us. We created a Slack group and invited them together. Here's some fun pictures from some of these events. And for me, one of the biggest takeaways here was we saw a significant correlation when we deemed someone a power user or what we call a super sender, and their correlation to expand more in NRR. So we looked at these cohorts and said, this is a no-brainer. And so now we really try to move people into this super sender program. We market to them early on in their life cycle to say, you should join our super sender program. Because of that, that's going to drive us more NRR. The next thing we did for our community programs is we focused on tracking champion changes. Now, this is pretty obvious. A lot of companies do this. We implemented this through user gems. This has been highly effective for us. The biggest takeaway here, though, is for a lot of companies that implement tracking, job change tracking programs, they really think of it as an ARR play. But what we found is 40% of customers that changed jobs actually went to other customers. And so they came in being power users and super senders, and they drove up our NRR. And so while at first this was an initiative that we thought sales wanted to own and be a driver for our SDR team, it actually quickly became a program that CX got the most excited about because they already brought in someone who was a super sender, saw them change jobs, and then invest in that person more. The next program, which is relatively new, but we're also really excited about, is the /experts program. And so for our /experts program, what we did is we built out a dedicated page, sendoso.com/experts, and we highlighted customers and top experts of our platform. We allowed you to instantly book a meeting with them. This was pretty nuanced. You know, we had our customers say, connect your calendar, book a meeting immediately. But what this did is it really broke down all that friction that used to happen when we wanted to connect customers with other customers, which was, how are we going to schedule it? How are we going to coordinate? Are we making the intro? Did the meeting actually happen? And what we really knew and what we realized from a lot of that manual work was that when we connected customers with other customers or customers with other prospects, it was an obvious strategy that drove up revenue. And so this has been highly effective, and we're doubling down on this program as well. A lot of these programs do have some complementary benefits on the new business side. So obviously, we're not ditching all of our ARR, but these things are things that we thought about to drive up NRR and are purposefully run and managed a lot of times by our CX organization. The next thing we did from the education and university side is we put a lot of work into our Sendoso University. And this was something that took a lot of effort. I have videos that I recorded from thought leaderships. There's hundreds and hundreds of these video sessions. There's courses you could take based on the individual, based on the role, based on the industry. So there's a lot that went into this. And one of the biggest takeaways that I had from our university program was that I thought this was going to be something that was a nice to have, that some customers were going to use once in a while. What I found is actually a lot of customers preferred the self-service option and actually didn't want the CSM onboarding and actually preferred to onboard themselves. That was a big takeaway and something that we've doubled down on and put this front and center in some of our welcome emails, which I'll show you in a few in the customer comm section. But this has really paid off big time, and we have a sizable customer education team now that focuses on just expanding content here. Certifications. This is something that we recently rolled out and something that I'm really proud of. So we rolled out these different certifications that you can get for being on our platform. And again, this ties into our Super Sender program because more Super Senders are likely to get certifications. And these certifications are geared towards the type of use case you're using our platform for. But it also is a great driver for virality. And so what we see is people are taking these courses, posting their certification on social, and then we're driving in more people into our funnel that way. So that was something that we weren't expecting at first, but we saw a lot of people posting these on social, which was cool. The other thing about these is these are also co-led by some of our customers and some of our super senders. So it's really cool that our customers come in and take a course and get certified that another customer actually helped develop. And I think what we're generally seeing is this kind of peer community of peers helping peers, peers talking to peers, peers getting references from peers, is almost more preferred than always feeling like you have to talk to the Sendoso sales rep, the Sendoso CSM, the Sendoso account manager. I think more and more people are getting advice from their colleagues and sharing that advice. And so we're trying to embrace that more too. And the last thing we did is what I call product-led comms. It's kind of bucketed under the customer communications bucket for our CX team. But when we first got started, we had your typical, one-off emails that would go out. And the biggest change, and one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be here, is really when we implemented Inflection, it really changed the game in terms of how we were able to use our product data, how our customer marketers, how some of our non-engineers were able to analyze the data, roll changes out in the data, but ultimately be very, very product-driven in terms of how we used the customer communications as a channel. And this ultimately was a driver of our biggest driver of NRR for us. In that previously, we had transactional emails that were very dumb, if I'm being honest, and this made them like 10 times smarter. So with that, I think it'd be cool. I'm going to show you 8 different emails that we rolled out that are some of our top performing emails through Inflection. And then I'm also going to show you 6 things that we're working on that I'm most excited about that are coming soon. So this first one is a month in review. We got the inspiration originally from Spotify Wrapped, which you guys have probably all seen. And then we did a recent rebrand. We got some inspiration from Clay's version of this that looks really awesome that I get myself. And so you can see some of the similar look and feel. You can. This is a monthly recurring email that goes out for all of our users. They can see not only the metrics that they've sent and used our platform on, but they can also get a few tips on other things that they can use our platform for. So some other send ideas as well. And you can see here we got about a 51% open rate and a little over 9% click rate on this one. Our learning here, if we can drive up more usage, showcase that usage, that's going to improve NRR for us. The next email is a welcome email, and there's a multitude of these welcome emails that's personalized based on the person that has signed up into our platform, so it's using product data. We are sending this one time, welcoming users in. You can also see where we learned that if we can self-educate users through university, they're going to be more successful. They're going to turn into super senders. So that's why we call that out here. About a 60% open rate and over 15% click rate, which we're really excited about. This goes back to the whole thesis that the more we can educate our customers, the more successful they'll be, the more NRR we'll be able to obtain from that. The next thing we rolled out and seen some success with as we A/B tested was celebrating someone's first send. So this is really like the time to value. How quickly can we get someone to send on our platform? And then how quickly can we celebrate their success? There's something psychological about celebrating success that wants them to, drive more success and continue to be celebrated. So we send them this email. It gets about a 75% open rate, about 10% click rate. And it links them into the send tracker. I'm actually surprised by the click rate here because really what it goes just to see is just like, did that get sent? Which they obviously know it did. But I think it just goes to show that this email celebrating usage is driving more usage and driving people back into our product to then send more. The next area of focus for us was driving some of repeat usage and reminders in our product. And these are really dynamic based on a lot of things because you can there's lots of different types of users. There's lots of different ways you can use our product. And so one of the things we honed in on was if there's no recent usage in 14 days, and again, this is sending usage because people can still log in and see things, but we want to quantify this as someone sent something in the last 14 days, then we're going to send them this reminder. We see about 60% open rate here, and I'm astonished by our mid-teens click rate for these kind of dormant users. But again, I think it goes back for us in that if we're reminding users, and it's pretty obvious, but when we weren't doing this, we weren't sending them reminder emails. And so now we're seeing an increase in spend, which then drives more usage, which then drives more reminders and increases our NRR at the end of the day. The other thing we have in our platform is budget. So users are assigned sales reps, account managers, CS, they're assigned an amount that they can spend each month. And admins can set it up where they use it and lose it, or it rolls over. And so this is a great opportunity for us, again, to send a budget reminder email saying, hey, if you don't use this, it goes away. And we saw about a 50% open rate, 3%-ish click rate. But again, we're driving people with these reminders and a bit of FOMO, which we're trying to figure out how can we drive more FOMO in our product. I think FOMO is another psychological behavior that gets people coming back. And if we can get more usage, we can then drive up our NRR. I think I've said NRR like 1,000 times, so if I get $1 for every one of those. That's what my presentation was on. So, power users, so our super senders. So we wanted to celebrate their success and also surprise them this time. And so this was a test we wanted to run. We didn't incentivize them. We didn't tell them, hey, after 10 you get this. We just will randomly wait for them to send their 10th send, and we'll send them this surprise gift. This is something that has worked really, really well for us. You could see the click rates here. Nearly 40% of people click into this. I mean, it's kind of obvious they'll get a surprise. There's a psychological interest in what that surprise is. You know, surprise, it's a gift from Sendoso, but hey, that's probably obvious. But they want it, and so they click into it. And then this repeats that usage, although they don't get another gift on the 10th send, so maybe that's tricking them. But hey, at the very least, it gets them that dopamine hit that they got a reward for using our platform. And we see that those people end up turning into super senders, and we know how that all works. I told you that. The next thing is this incentivized usage. So this is another thing that we tried out, seeing a ton of success with, double down on, is for seeing users that have, and you can see the email here, product, this is triggered based on some product data where you haven't sent in a while, a couple months, you kind of forgot about us. We say, hey, send today, and we'll give you this gift. And surprisingly, we were able to bring back quite a few people with this. And on top of that, you can I don't know if you can read it, but it says once you've sent at least 5 times, so not even come back and send once. Once you send 5 times, we'll send you the gift and share us the success you're seeing with that. And the reason why we're asking for them to share this success is, I'll jump to this in my next email, but long story short, incentives are driving up NRR for us too. But here's a similar email where all this one is saying, hey, just reply and tell us how you like our product, and we'll send you a gift. And this is something that we see about 20% response rate with. And again, if we can train customers to share this feedback, we can then take that feedback and use it in other areas of the business. We also find that when people share feedback, it creates this like positive psychology with that customer. They feel like they're special, they've had a win, and then that ultimately those cohorts of users who are engaging with this email and this product-led comm are seeing more success. And so for us, if we can drive more feedback from our users, we're going to see more NRR. So let's talk about what's next and some of the things that we are doing to continue to innovate on the comm side. And I think this is the biggest area of opportunity for us. We've really maxed out a lot of the cool things with the university, the super sender programs. So most of our eggs are going into this basket on new things we can do, and really coupling product data with some other really interesting data sources. So the first one is, how are we going to layer on product data with interesting data from Clay to then suggest more users to add? Doing that through email. So we're going to try to expand more usage by saying, hey, your colleague X isn't on Sendoso yet. You should add them, and make that really easy to call out their colleagues who should be users. We're also going to take product data and use some really interesting new like AI slide deck generating technology that we've seen. Build out these ROI slide decks for them, and then tell them, hey, here's your success, here's the deck of your success, and you could share that with your boss really easily. What we found is when our CSMs were creating these PowerPoint decks, they worked really well, and they'd get shared across the organization. So we want to do that for everyone and not have it be a manual task. And this is something that we're going to take product data and then take other data sources and then throw it in an inflection email program. We're also going to take Salesforce data on which companies are using professional services, which ones aren't, use that in communication with our users to then see if we can upsell them on services. And this is going to be a completely automated program as well. And again, all these are automated programs that are just going to continuously run for all of our customers. The other thing we found is that certain features on our platform drive more usage, which then drives more NRR. Surprise. And so we are then taking those features, wrapping them into new emails to highlight those features, and then drive them into the university to learn about those features, hopefully getting them to use that feature, which will then drive more usage on our platform. We're also pulling in some interesting data from Clay when one of our customers onboards new tech in their tech stack. So if we know they got a new marketing tool, they got a new sales tool, got a new CX tool, we want to then use that data with product usage data saying that they haven't integrated yet and programmatically outbound or outreach to them to set up that new integration and offer up support to set up that new integration. And I could go on and on and on. So ultimately, in the end, with what we saw today, for us, the big shift was moving away from pure ARR focus to NRR. And the biggest takeaways for me, and hopefully for you guys, was investing in community can drive up your NRR, investing in education, driving usage, driving feedback, reminders, celebrations, advocacy, and full circle, bring it back to gifting. Use gifting, and that will drive up your NRR. So that's what I had to share with you. Hopefully that was helpful. And feel free to ask any questions offline. I'll be here all day. So thank you very much.